Savanna Greywind wants to put her feet up and have some pizza. At 8 months pregnant, she's more than ready to meet her little girl. They even have a name picked out, Hazley Joe. But before she can sit back with a slice, or 3, she has one more thing to cross off her to-do list. Her upstairs neighbor is offering $20 to model a dress she's sewing. And with a new baby on the way, every little bit counts. She doesn't know she's walking straight into the trap of a deadly womb raider. A woman so desperate for a baby, she'll use a box cutter to take it. It was August 19th, 2017, and everything was about to change, but in a good way. 22-year-old Savanna Greywind and her boyfriend had just signed a lease on their own apartment in Fargo, North Dakota. It was bittersweet because her family was so close, but their basement apartment was getting a little cramped, and they wouldn't be far away. Plus, with the baby only 4 weeks away, she wanted to build her own nest, and the future looked so shiny. Even though she had to pee 100 times a day, even with her swollen, aching pregnancy feet, she was practically overflowing with love on that Saturday, the last day of her life. At 1:30 that afternoon, there was a knock on her door. It was their third-floor neighbor, Brooke Crews. She was hoping Savanna would come upstairs with her for a few minutes. She claimed she was sewing a dress and she needed a model to finish it, according to the Forum News Service. Well, Brooke wasn't someone Savanna, she wasn't totally sure about. For one thing, she was a little older by 16 years, and the fights she had with her live-in boyfriend, William Hain, they were legendary. Their building wasn't a big complex, which meant everyone knew firsthand when William and Brooke were getting along and when they really, really weren't. There was a minute there when he had moved out, and he was ordered not to contact Brooke. And there was talk that he'd done some jail time for fracturing his little boy's skull from a previous relationship. But despite everything, it wasn't long before he was back and the screaming fight started up again. But hey, Brooke was a neighbor and Savanna wasn't one to turn down a needy neighbor. And the $20 she promised didn't hurt. So she ordered a pizza and she told her mother, Norberta, that she was running up to Brooke's place and she'd be home before the pizza got there. But she would never walk back through that door again. Like everyone else in the building, Savanna figured Brooke and William's crazy relationship issues were none of her business. She had no idea how wrong she was. About 9 months earlier, Brooke told William she was pregnant. She got away with that lie for a while, but when her due date started getting closer, it was pretty obvious there was no bun in her oven. And when her boyfriend found out, he told her to produce a baby or else. It just so happened Brooke knew where to find one. She came at Savanna with a box cutter. Later, she claimed they struggled in the bathroom and Savanna fell and hit her head on the side of the tub. But when the Duluth News-Tribune covered the ensuing trial, they reported a chilling statement. The medical examiner testified that there was no sign of a head injury, which makes what happened next all the more horrifying. So Brooke overpowered Savanna and began the gruesome task of cutting open her womb and kidnapping her baby girl. It's so hard to imagine how someone could be so evil. It's even harder to fathom how 2 people could go along with such a sick plan. But that is what happened. When William walked in the door, he found his girlfriend holding this crying newborn in a bloody bathroom. And various reports say Brooke told him, "This is our baby. This is our family." And his response was to ask if Savanna was definitely dead. When Brooke said she didn't know, he allegedly got a rope to strangle her just to be sure. Meanwhile, the minutes were ticking by. 1 hour turned into 2 and then 3. By 4:30, Norberta was officially worried. She went upstairs and knocked on Brooke's door, but she only shrugged and told her Savanna wasn't there. She looked her straight in the eye and said her daughter left around 2:30. It seemed ridiculous. Savanna's car was still in the parking lot. Her purse was still in their apartment. Her pizza was waiting for her. Where would she go? So Norberta called the police. The second person to knock on Brooke and William's door that day was a police officer. He wanted to talk to them about the missing mom-to-be, and he asked if he could take a look around their apartment. Now, if you think that this is where the story ends and justice begins, think again. The officers took a look around and they found nothing out of the ordinary. They didn't notice any evidence of the brutal scene in the bathroom. They didn't spot Savanna's body wrapped in plastic and towels stuffed in the bathroom closet. And even more shockingly, they didn't see or hear the newborn baby hidden under blankets on the bed. They thanked the couple and left. But they weren't quite done with them. After all, their apartment was the last place Savanna was known to be, and absolutely no one had seen her walking out of the building that day, which meant she was probably still there. When police knocked a second time, the couple was ready for them. Sort of. Somehow, they had repurposed their dresser into a hiding spot for Savanna's body. Anyone looking at it would see a piece of bedroom furniture. If they tried opening the drawers, though, well, I think we can assume Brooke and William were hoping that they wouldn't. And they didn't. After another chat and another look around the apartment, they didn't find a thing. No body, no baby, no reason for alarm. How is that possible? We went looking for answers, and the Billings Gazette published an explanation from the Fargo police chief himself. The gist of what he had to say goes like this. The police weren't looking for a baby or a body. They were just asking questions about a missing pregnant woman. So based on his explanation, in this case, opening a closet door would be considered too aggressive. And if they get too aggressive in a consensual search like that, they run the risk of losing access to the property. In any case, Brooke and William weren't trying to push their luck. After the police left the second time, they moved the dresser out to their Jeep. They drove a few minutes out of town and dumped Savanna's body in the Red River. Then they went home and kept playing house with the daughter that they'd stolen. Miraculously, the baby was doing just fine, and William was bragging about being this proud papa to anyone who would listen. He was so vocal about the new addition to his family that people were getting suspicious, and somehow they managed to hide the newborn from Savanna's own family in the same building. The story about this missing mom-to-be made headlines across the state and neighboring communities for 5 days. Tips came in hard and fast about a suspicious Jeep by the river and a former felon with a brand new baby that had appeared out of nowhere. So when police showed up at their door for a third time on August 24th, they weren't so nice. In fact, it's been reported that they didn't even knock. They kicked the door in and found Brooke holding the baby. It took 3 more days to find little Hazley Joe's mom, but on Sunday evening, August 27th, just as the sky was melting into twilight, kayakers came across Savanna's body, wrapped in plastic and duct tape, floating in the Red River, snagged on a log waiting to be discovered. But even with a mountain of evidence against her, Brooke insisted Savanna gave her the baby. And William just blamed the whole horror story on Brooke, even claiming the rope was around Savanna's neck when he walked into the gruesome scene. Sadly, we may never know which of them killed her because doctors couldn't determine if she died from blood loss or strangulation. So we'll just blame them both, like the courts did. Brooke got life in prison, so did he, at first. And then 2 years after that terrible day, a judge gave him a new sentence, 20 years. Here's hoping he serves every second of it. What happened to Savanna was unbelievably tragic and relatively uncommon, or at least it used to be. According to research collected and reported on by MammaMia.com, the first fetal kidnapping was in 1974, when a mother of 3 was killed when she was 8 months pregnant with her 4th. Between 1974 and 2017, there were less than 24 cases like this, according to that article, and almost all of those were in the United States. At some point, the term womb raider was coined, and I can't think of a more descriptive way to explain such a bizarre and brutal crime. In 2021, Lisa Montgomery was the first woman to be executed in almost 70 years, and the details of her crime are eerily similar to this. She murdered a pregnant 23-year-old that she'd befriended online, Bobby Jo Stinnett, and she lived with her baby for 1 day before they caught her. And miraculously, Bobby Jo's baby survived too, just like Hazley Joe. Today, Hazley is happy, healthy, and thriving with her father and grandparents. And as she grows up, she will know that her mother did not die in vain. Her murder led to the creation of Savanna's Act, a law that mandates stronger measures in case of missing or murdered Native Americans. She was a member of the Spirit Lake Nation, as her daughter is today. And that is your recap. I am so glad we got to hang out and talk about this today. If you like getting all the crime in half the time, it would mean a lot if you took a second to hit subscribe and the bell so you never miss a story. Chris and I are here every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. So until next time, take care.